Hello there. I am so glad that you're here tonight because you know what? It's been a week. And I'm just glad to be here and to be talking with y'all and to be talking about UAPs and our silly government and all the things that are happening. Now, I'm on a different laptop and my lighting is different. It's a whole different world. And so you're going to have to bear with me. We have had a laptop get stuck between something somewhere. So, yay. But I have just been, and y'all know this, I've been having the best time. Fate magazine is all about UFOs. And now it's all about UAP because, the vernacular changed, and I still say it's because they want those records from the past to disappear at some point. But it's really cool because I think that there's so much happening, and I don't really care if this was to distract from something that somebody wanted hidden or didn't want to talk about or whatever the freaking reason was. We have UFO files. And I thought when they were changing it to UAP that they were just hoping to change the vernacular so that it would be difficult for past files to be found by future generations. Because if I were our government, I'd be embarrassed for having lied to my people since at least the 40s. And I think that the fact that now we have all this stuff coming to light. We had the fifth tranche released this week, and I did not expect this stuff to be coming so fast and furious. And hey, Melinda, but it's just really something that I'm having a good time with. And when I talk to my friends who are like, geniuses, they're shocked too. And they're like, well, why didn't we do this before? There's no reason this couldn't have happened sooner. And they're right. But I'd really be interested in knowing people's opinions. If you're not listening live, you can hit me up on Facebook and talk to me about it. I am all about talking to you about this. I'm going to wind up doing a panel fairly soon, and my earbud is blinking. Maybe that's because it's in use. We're going to go with that, and because I'm not listening to me anyway, and I have a mic on my computer, so, and I can see Carl, so we're okay. We're not going to panic yet. But I'm really so interested because when we started this journey, it was, for me, I've been studying this for a long time, but when we started the UAP journey, it was Hillary Clinton in an interview saying, oh, all the cool kids say UAP now. Nobody says UFO. And that's when I was like, they're going to be burying this stuff. They're getting ready to bury a lot of stuff. So there's that. But I think that, to me, the fact that, and I don't know, there's a lot of reasons that all of these changes could be happening. There's a lot of changes that they probably are happening. But it's kind of like, it's kind of a really big deal that I think it's a big deal that Trump was the one that did this because nobody likes him. He wasn't going to get brownie points for doing it, right? Not from the majority. He wasn't going to get a lot of recognition in the media or whatever because nobody has anything good to say about him. And he decided that, by God, we have had this for so long. It's 1947, and there was one before that, a couple before that. And so now we've got people that are talking about this. And we have scientists, all of my little, my little rocket scientists, but all my rocket scientist friends are just, They're not giddy because they don't get giddy. They're very professional, but it's something that is hitting all walks of life. Because you've got cowboys that are riding herd. You've got drunks that are getting yeah, they're wasted on their way home, and then all of a sudden they're shocked sober. I mean, I have talked to people that went through that. There are people who would never have believed that this was a real thing. They still don't. Even with all of these files coming out, they still don't. And because it's a diversionary tactic. Yeah. No UFOs, no alien craft in the sky, nothing that's blowing our Air Force, which is the best Air Force in the world, off the map when they go by, because they're not as fast. And we don't have the maneuverability that these little dots have, right? And I found something really interesting in this group of files. I have a good girlfriend who used to be the voice of fate back in the day. That we first met when I was at an investigation at Sloss Furnace, and she was the host of Fate Magazine Radio, and she was doing a live show there. Her name is Chase Klotsky. She is one of the most fierce, wonderful, and brave women I know. And I just think that everybody should have a Chase. I really do. But she and I were talking. Come to find out, she was a MUFON. She was a big deal in MUFON. So as I started doing the UFO UAP conferences, I walked into, I guess, UFO Congress, the one in Arizona, and she and half the room were getting an award for a film that they had made. And they had been doing a lot of the filming at the Ozark Mountain UFO Conference. That was when everybody and their brother was there talking. It was Linda and Richard, and Mark D'Antonio was a new guy on the scene. He was there. Milton Howell was there. In fact, Richard Ellen was there with Tracy. His, I don't know if they were married yet. If not, they were about to be. But it was so much fun because we're all sitting there. We're all shooting the breeze. Linda and Richard are doing a show. And I see Chase, and she's doing her very first presentation. And she had actually done forensic analysis on the Peruvian skulls. And to me, that was interesting. She went and got her forensic science degree just to be able to do these skulls. She got to go into Bolivia, and she brought samples from the starseed skull. And that was pretty cool too. And we'll do another show about that, or I'll find that one and I'll share it with you. But, when I was going through these files this week, and I'd seen it on the news, and I thought, well, that can't be the only video they have of this. There was a great big black triangle, and they didn't have the film of it. It was just a depiction. It was a rendering. And I don't like renderings. I want to see the real thing. So if you wonder why there's not a lot of imagery this week, it's because I don't like renderings. So if I'm going to show it to you, I'm going to show you the real thing. I don't want it to be crap. And you don't want it to be crap. So that's how we're going to run this show. Yep. No renderings. Unless I just can't stand it. But Chase and I were talking because I don't know, you'll have a drink or two and you're just hanging out with your buds. And we had all these UFO experiencers, these not necessarily abductees, but that year was where I also met Calvin Parker, the guy from Mississippi, from Gulfport, Mississippi, who had an abduction that was pretty well documented. But that's where I met he and his beautiful wife. And so I had abductions on my mind, and Chase and I were talking. I was like, yeah, you've been a field operator for MUFON forever. said, have you ever been scared? Because she's never scared. Chase Klotsky is never scared. And she was like, yeah, I was really concerned. And she's like me. I don't want a missing time event. I don't want to not know what happened to me. I have seen UFO and UAP. So I'm a sky watcher. In the summer, when it's not flooding, I'm a hammock layer. So I watch the skies a lot, and it's all times of the day. And they're there all times of the day. And I was like, well, what happened? What happened with you? And she said, well, I went into the field on an investigation. And while we're there, a huge black triangle came toward us. I was like, what did you do? Because, like I said, she doesn't run, and she is a field investigator. And she said, well, I watched it for a while. Then I got in my truck. I wasn't standing out there. And I said, well, because that's my nightmare too. I don't want to have that happen. So it was interesting to me that what was shown in those files with this release was a rendering of a black triangle. And it had the standard lights, point, sides, coming back and across. And that's how they drew that. And that was seen by military personnel. And I know a guy who was a consulate general in the Philippines who has had a black triangle experience. He came through his okay, obviously, because he's still able to do responsible things. And his friend that was with him did not come out of it okay. His friend did not have his screen memories stay in place. He remembered everything that happened, and it destroyed him. So that's why I don't like the idea of even a small, quick abduction, just check you out and say hi. I mean, no, not even okay. And that's what they showed that some of these military personnel encountered in these files this week. Very, very limited video. Nothing but, it's not true. There's a transmedium object that goes in the water and up. But which I find fascinating. I wish I had a car that could do that. I would get to the Bahamas a lot sooner. But it's just so bizarre because there's so much that is available, and we're getting less striking imagery with this group of files. And I really expected the imagery to kind of begin here and move into a broader, bigger range. So I'm not fussing. I am not fussing because I'm so excited that we have them. But I would just like to see something more because I know we have more. And I also know that if they were able to describe that triangle coming over the top of their plane, they have that triangle on footage. There is film of that triangle on footage. They didn't have to do a rendering. If they were in their craft and it came over them, there's video of that. And I want that. So, Pete Hegseth, don't make me come up there and ask you nicely. But, I want that. We all want that. Am I glad we have some form of transparency grieving? I am. But I want more. I want a lot more. So I am really excited to bring you what I have. Like I said, I went through, some of it's amazing, some of it's so not amazing. But I have glasses. I'm ready to do some reading if I can see it on my monitor. And if you have questions, bring them. I mean, this has been kind of a very weird weekend, and um, I have had a I've had to have a biopsy, so I'm a little tripped out, and I have just been so fortunate because I've had to have one before somewhere else, and I am a sun baby. I love being in the water, so I'm a little nervous. So I will take some prayers if you've got them, but I'm pretty confident my doctor felt pretty good about it, and there's that. But I want to, let's see what I have here. I'm trying to be a little bit of a cheater, and everything I have just croaked on me. It's going to be that kind of show. Okay, we aren't going to sweat the small stuff. Now, let's come over here and see what we have. So I'm not going to go through these very fast because, like I said, there weren't very many. This is a NASA UAP. This is the one from before. And I wanted to use this again because I used it when I did a show a couple of weeks ago. This is something that NASA astronauts caught. And you're going to start here. This is, see that triangle right in the middle? This is something that was caught by a NASA astronaut as they were circling Earth. They were, I think, getting ready to do a reentry. But an astronaut caught this on film. And so we do know that deltas are a thing. When I used this before, I was mainly just showing, oh, look, NASA catches things too. But this is a delta. We know deltas are a thing because NASA is who showed us that. And this is another angle of it. And I'm really surprised that they let this one go because the next image is of it whoops, I went the wrong way. It's of it superimposed on the moon where they were coming around. Carl, it's right around in here somewhere, right here. So that craft did not go away. It did not flit away. It stayed while they were circling the Earth. They got that shot. And, you know, and this is once they got past it, I'm sure, and it went ahead and got on the face or between them and the Earth so they could see it superimposed. And that's a pretty big deal, I think, because for the longest time, we were being, I'm going to kill this light. We were being told that there was no way. NASA never saw anything. There was never anything dropped on the moon that made any noise. There was never anything that, you know, nothing that we heard out of the NASA program could possibly be true. And when I first started doing this, I got so excited because I found, and bear in mind, I'm a ghost hunter. That's what I have done throughout my paranormal interests. Interested in UAP, not really one to talk about them. And so when I started doing Fate Radio, I knew the history of Fate, but I'm a ghost hunter. So I talk about haunted locations, different paranormal equipment. I talk with ghost hunters from all over the world. So far, I've been able to investigate in a couple of countries. And I love it. I love what I do with that. And then when it came down to it, I started researching UAP. And that's when I found out that, oh, well, they're just reclassifying this. They're not changing the files. You have UFO files and you have UAP files. That sounds like somebody's trying to be a little sneaky. So I started researching it, and the rest is history. And I am knocking that camera everywhere. But this is something that's going to be affecting all of us. It's going to be affecting my grandchildren and yours. My children are already amazed. My grandchildren that are old enough to be are. And, but you have to be careful how you talk to even tweens, because it's still a scary topic. Because who's flying them? We don't know. Well, what are they doing? We don't know. Well, why are they coming here? We don't know, but a lot of people say they've been taken. You don't want to say that to a 12, 13-year-old kid, because then they're going to want to know what happened to them while they were gone, which is also scary, because a lot of people have done research studies, homework assignments, whatever. Travis Walton's presented as bugs until he started tripping out and tried to kill them. So, I did a workshop with Whitley Strieber, and he's the guy that wrote Communion and the follow-up to that, and has had adult life experiences. And so after a conference, I did one of his workshops, and it was a meditation. And when we were doing the stuff, he's very odd. He's very cool, but he's very odd. So he had all these not mantras, but it was a very good workshop. It's a very good meditation. And the image that I got during the meditation looked just like the cover of Communion. The ow. It was him. But and I said, well, I did not have a preconceived notion of what I was going to see in your workshop. Why did that? I mean, do you steer it that way? What? He's like, I don't steer the workshops. You see what you've experienced. I said, well, I don't know what to think about that either. So there's all kinds of weird things that you can come across in this field. It's so much fun. But we primarily tonight have documents, which means we're going to be seeing some specs. And it's not sexy. It's not, a lot of anything new. But it's interesting because it's a military perspective on what they're seeing. And I know a lot of jet jockeys. I used to live in Destin, Florida, which is where there's all kinds of pilots that train down through that area, as well, obviously, as Pensacola. And they're not as reticent about talking about what they see anymore. If they're in a classified area, they cannot talk about it, obviously. The experience itself is not classified anymore, I don't think, because I'm hearing more. And I'm really excited to see what's going to come with this. We've been lied to for so long for no good reason. We've had people disappear. We've had people be damaged. I mean, Calvin Parker was damaged. I mean, there was blood all over. They stuck stuff up his nose and weren't nice about it. There's so much. And I'm just glad we're getting something. So we're going to go slow with these because I don't feel 100%. So I'm going to try to make sure I get it right. But It is what it is. Now, these are fun. We're going to look at this as fun because it matters how we approach them. And this is 19, is that a 63, Carl, or 53? I think it's 53. But this is U.S. Naval Photographic Interpretation Center, U.S. Naval Retrieving Station. Receiving station is from the OIC, officer in charge, to the Director of Naval Intelligence. And it's the interpretation of movies of unidentified objects progress report on. Conferring letter DBI. Y'all can see this. DEI, I'm going to make it bigger so I can see it too. DNI, Director of National Intelligence of 322 Y5. RTA, all the stuff. Confirm letter, Chief Tropical Division, U.S. Air Force. PIC conference letter. And it's just like Reference A is a request from U.S. Air Force for the interpretation of movies of unidentified objects taken in Utah, July 2nd, 1952. Included among the enclosures are approximately 300 feet of processed 16 millimeter color motion picture film and a list of questions for guidance in determining the type of analysis desired. Reference B requested interpretation of additional movies taken in Montana in 1950. This report supersedes Reference C and presents the test procedures and methods designed to answer the questions contained in Enclosure 7 of Reference A. The results and analysis were performed by the photogrammetry division, evaluation department of this center, and do not necessarily represent the official attitude of the Department of the Navy or this center. Threats and tests and procedure. Plots. The film exposed in Utah is in very poor condition, dry, brittle, and with a tendency to break. After initial viewing in the duplicate process, some color correction was made to permit better viewing of the objects. To prepare plots of the objects, a stop frame projector was rigidly mounted at a fixed distance from a finely ground glass screen. The magnification was 22 times, given a format size of 14.2 inches wide. This proved very satisfactory and could provide a shadow-free image which overlay plots could be made. And so, well, I just scrolled everything up, and Carl, I can't pull that down. I can't get to it. Thank you. But, this is starting. This was the first thing that I pulled down. And as you go through them, they reference all kinds of stuff. There's not a lot really shown with the documents, but it's interesting. And y'all may hear the dogs going off because I just got a message from the hubster who said he's home. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm just absolutely so excited that they're going to be doing this. I think it's that they've been doing it already. Okay, I'm not downplaying anything. And the fact that they're not really going big sexy on all of this stuff right now, they have gone big sexy. There's been some amazing stuff released already. And is it definitive? I think that freaking astronaut's triangle is fairly definitive because they were supposed to be the only people in space, right? And the fact that she could do that, I really liked that. I'm impressed. I really am impressed. So impressed with our military, our astronaut program, everything just is astounding to me. We have people that know so much more than I know or will know. I mean, I'm not going back to school. I'm 64. I might. But it's just so cool. I'm so blown away. Trying to get back to it. Oh, come now. You can tell I'm a little bit not under the weather per se, but not 100%. Come on. I'm having to blow them up so I can see them. So this is also the U.S. Naval Photographic Interpretation Center. This is May 4th, 1953. Again, the OIC, Security Information. And again, to the Director of Naval Intelligence. So Carl, is this the same one? It's not, is it? Let me ask him. Is that the same one? Okay. This is 2. Okay. This, why is nothing working on here? There we go. Okay. Interpretation of movies of unidentified objects progress report on. A preliminary detailed study of the Utah film was made, and it was decided that brightly colored spots of red and green lasting only 1 or 2 frames were not to be considered. Water spots could be detected easily and eliminated from the study. The color of the objects was fairly consistent as blue-white. Size and luminosity of an object varied throughout the file. For convenience and interpretation, the file was divided into 3 parts, each part being considered an entity. Part 1 consisted of the footage taken at f6. Part 2, the footage taken at f16 with a panning motion. And Part 3, the footage taken at f16, during which the camera was held steady. 3 definite groups of lights were observed throughout the films, and plots were recorded as follows. That means they've got it moving. 1, 2, and 3 holding to lower group. Then 1 and 2 holding to one object and azimuth of another. Then 1, arbitrary half-inch correction per frame for panning. 3, holding to frame outline, 5A and 5B. 1 image held to baseline, every 10th frame to show changes within apparent formations. So they have this absolutely shifting, okay? It is shifting location. It is just amazing. And when we get down later, you'll see Montana and then A11 terrestrial objects, 7A and 7B. But right now we're focused here because when we started talking about Utah is still, go down. Utah is still a hot spot. And I don't know why that is. I have no idea why that is. But that whole Midwest. Carl, can you pull that down, please? Thank you. But the whole Midwest is huge. But this is New Mexico, Utah, Nevada, so many places. And I have to wonder if that's why they put the primary, you've got Wright-Patterson, which we learned was and is a primary place for research on this. Okay. We have Area 51, which is a base. There is a base there. And there is work that happens there. It's not just a tourist spot. Although if you go in on the driveway where the mailbox was, then the truck will come and meet you, because I'm absolutely certain they have vibration sensors and whatnot there. Plus, there's cameras all the way coming in. So the truck gets there right as you're getting to the gate, and it's like parked at the top, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to look at all the visitors." But it's not. I mean, it really is a working base, because if you go to the back entrance, that's where the deliveries are made. And we drove back there because we went to I can't remember the name of that lake, but it's a dead lake, and it was so cool. But that's going to drive me crazy now. I'm going to have to I'm going to have to find that. But I was just so shocked, really, that there really was an Area 51, for one thing. And then I was so shocked that it's an active base. And I was also shocked because as you're going into it, it's not an arid, dead desert. You go through really great farmland on the way there. It's a big, if it's an oasis, it's a big oasis. It's loads of beautiful. So it's not all desert and dead, but the whole experience of learning through these files that there's stuff that they were seeing and getting in Utah. I'm sure that's Nevada's right below it, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that the whole the Trinity crash, which was before Roswell, and then taking off from there. And you need to read that book, Trinity. That is written by Jacques Vallée. And I'm going to figure out how to make that file MP4 so I can play that interview. Carl, I'm going to get you to help me with that and see if we can't make that work. But that was, to me, one of the most interesting things that I've learned. And I had already heard this story and then found out that Jacques and Paola had written a book together on this topic. And I had no idea, except that I got a phone call and said, Jacques would like you to do an interview. And I'm like, who am I? And I did say no because I just had surgery. And he was like, well, we must do this. And I was like, I just had surgery. I have a hole in my throat. I can't do that. And so I wore a scarf. So when you see that, I look like the wrath of God, but I had a great time. He is so fun. But I think that, and it's the only time I've ever been intimidated doing an interview, because I wanted to stay on task for his book, right? And I had 257 million other questions I wanted to talk to him about. So it was hilarious. I was just like, look at me doing an interview like this. But he was really great and really kind, and I liked him a lot. But that was, to me, a book that really opened my eyes, because these were pre-Roswell. Trinity was pre-Roswell, and it was still working with a base in that area. And this was, I guess this was what, 45, maybe a little before. It was a couple of years pre-Roswell. And there was a military base already out there, because that's where they did the testing grounds for the nuclear weapons, right? For the atomic bombs. And which Stanton Friedman was part of. Pretty cool. But then, they had telegraph lines that went down the sides of the roads. The only reason they knew anything had gone down was because it clipped the tower, the pole that this telegraph line was on. So they lost communication. And the rest of the experience was just bizarre, because it was a crash. There were, pilots. There were 3 people, 3 aliens in it. And it was just the most interesting thing because I had no idea that was a thing. And then when I learned that it was, I was like, holy crap. And then when I got a chance to ask Jacques about it, I was like, well, this boy's name, somebody has been reaching out to me with this name. And when I tried to find out about him, the only thing I could find wasn't a history, but he's always pictured with Stanton Friedman and Kathy Martin. So, do you know him? And that boy's family was the family's land, whose land that first crash landed on. And his, I think, grandpa was who got the alien who survived the crash out and tried to interact and help him and, communicate. Very interesting story. I'll put that on my Facebook and y'all can find it. But anyway, so it's really interesting because while I've been learning the fundamentals of ufology for the last, I've done FATE for 5 years, 5 years, and going into 6, and paranormal experience for 10. So it was interesting to me that all of a sudden I've gone from ghost hunting to ufology, and with no idea how I got there, other than having some cool friends. But yeah, I mean, all this stuff is happening in the background of our country, and the people talking about it are rocket scientists and nuclear physicists and people that are aware of possibilities, okay, with propulsion, that have been working on different kinds of propulsion. And they're seeing these craft. I don't know that they're not already interacting with them. I don't know how this is working. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I have got to learn more. And it's out there. You can do that because it's, I think they changed it from UFO to UAP so that the original UFO files will fade out. I think it's it's going to be part of a cover up. They don't want to talk about how they deceived the people of the world, so they're going to just make those stories kind of fade out. That's my opinion. Because otherwise, why would you change the vernacular? There's not a good reason for that. That's the only thing I've come up with so far. But the interesting part to me is that it seems to be not really working well yet. Probably in 10 or 15 years, they'll have it down pat and everybody will be talking UAP. But there's so much history. You've got global experiences. And I learned when I went to Scotland for the first time, the first place that we went on a cold and rainy morning, well, just a cold and gray morning. It wasn't really raining when we were out there to start with. We went to Bonny Bridge, which is a UFO sighting area. And it was really cool because a guy came down. There were cows on this side of the field, on this field, and then there were nothing over here. And he was moving the cows up toward his home pasture. So he had dogs, which got me. I was nailed. And then, we were ostensibly looking for UFOs, and Andrea Perrin singing to the UFOs to bring them down to us. It was kind of a rare moment for me. And then, the next thing I know, I'm really wanting to watch these dogs work. And then the cows are gone. The dogs have already worked. So I'm stuck looking for UFOs. But there were images captured on people's phones after Andrea was singing to the aliens. So I did not know that was a thing. And she's my friend, and I didn't know that was a thing. So that was a nice surprise once we got to Scotland. But yeah, Scotland has a big UFO history. England does too. So it was, man, and they're so brave anyway. Those people are, you know, really, their background makes them special. But we went the next year to the Scottish UFO and Paranormal Conference at Glasgow University. And that was interesting because another researcher that I'm going to hopefully be talking to here, Malcolm Robinson, is the English version of Stanton Friedman. And, well, and Philip Mantle, but Philip's English too. But it's there's such a big older community. You know, it's like Stanton used to laugh at me, but he was a good friend, so he got away with that. But because I would be trying to grasp this stuff and compare the experiences really to paranormal things, because it is paranormal, it's not a normal thing. And now we're being told, oh, yeah, probably it really is normal. So you can just roll with that now. Okay. But I find it interesting because, like I said, I do think this is going to be conspiratorial, really, because they're not introducing it as UFO slash UAP. They're going to make UFO go away, which is going to make future generations not able to research that. And I think that's shoddy. I really think that's shoddy. But what are you going to do? I just think that I wish that y'all had been able to go to that Scottish Paranormal UFO Conference, because Scotland has a lot of witches. And it's really interesting to me because of their witch history. We had nothing on them to how they treated the women that they thought were witches, generally women whose husbands just wanted to get rid of them, that kind of thing. I'm pretty sure that's what most of that was. But they have a new witch museum too if you go over there. I'm not going to it. I'm too much of an empath, and I don't think I would cope with that well. But, you know, the UFO side of it is something that, you know, they're not hiding any other history from us, really. But that's going to be gone. And it makes you wonder, why is this such a big deal? And because they consider it so, I guess. But I think we're just going to have to wait and see on that, because it's going to be fun. But I have to tell you, I'm having a flippin' blast with my side of the stuff, because the imagery, the reason we have documents is because the imagery was not very good that came out with this. And we do have, I think these are not the new ones. Oh no, but that is that really cool one. Well, look at that again. I love that they're putting these files up, because I love seeing these different craft. And some of them, two of them, have blown me out of the water, because I'd love to see them. They're beautiful, and they're freaking huge too. They're probably the mothership. But you know, I just think that this is amazing. Now, whoop, I'm gonna open this file. Y'all just, let's see what this is. Oh, that's the NASA thing. We've already seen that. Even these glasses don't help me a whole lot with this. So there's that. I'm gonna have to wind up getting stronger glasses. And whoa, there I come way close, but I can't read it very well. perhaps. This one is the same one. Why am I having an issue with this? Probably because, no, that is not the same one. Well, there I am, back and forth, back and forth. Densitometric tests. I don't know what that is. Densitometric data were obtained with a whatever that tool is, manufactured by the Welsh Scientific Company, has a scale range of 0 to 3. The procedure was to project each frame at approximately 22 times magnification onto a finely grained glass screen. The background, the sky, was then measured at several places and the density sat to 3.0. Variations in background densities were in the order of 0.02 and were regarded as uniform. A set of 3 readings were made of each of the 7 objects in Part 1 and of the single object in Part 3 of the Utah file. Readings were made of the entire Montana file. Enclosures are graphs of the density readings obtained of the 2 lower groups of objects in frame 1 through 129 of the Utah film. Enclosure 9 is a density graph of the single object in Part 3. Enclosure 10 is a graph where 6 successive that kind of readings were averaged and advanced 1 reading each determinant. Of the Montana file, densities were plotted as above and are enclosures 11 and 12. They did not have the enclosures. The results of the density readings may be questioned is that these objects varied in size so that the minimum sizes that probe was measuring the entire object, and at the maximum size, the probe was measuring only a portion of the objects. Because of this situation, only the largest readings obtained by scanning the objects were used. It is understood that normal procedure would be to read the entire object. This was impossible with the equipment on hand. In addition, the file with which this investigation was conducted is a duplicate of a copy. This raises the questions as to whether the central portion of the objects were burst out during the duplication processing. Density readings were made to compare the clear areas and the objects. It was found that the minimum difference is 0.4. This indicates that relative luminosity may still be obtained with the procedure used. Concurrent with the density readings, relative sizes of the objects were noted in order to correlate distance and luminosity. Enclosure 13 is a plot of the same object wherein the relationship of distance and luminosity can be detected in the Utah files. Answers to questions. Answers keyed to the questions contained in this enclosure 7 of references A are hereby presented. They supersede those contained in reference C and present the final analysis as requested. So that guy is scratched out and it's no longer confidential. So there's that. But, it's just one of those things that I don't know what most of that means, and that's okay. I don't have to. But I would like to. Okay. I do not know what they were trying to do. And I don't know why they were separating these files. And it doesn't make sense to me. Again, unless they're trying to have confusion. And maybe I'm the only one confused by this. I don't know. So, Carl, are you confused by this? No? You are? Okay. He says he's confused too. So I'm in good company. But, I just don't understand. And I think it's going to be so fun because I hope that this continues. I don't see why it wouldn't. Right now, they're on about an every week thing, which is good. But it's one of those things that you just really want to see and to understand and to know why these things are showing up. And I just want to I want to learn what this is. I really want to learn what this is because some of those craft, there's two of those um, files that they've shown that the craft are just beautiful. And it's like, well, how is that functioning in that way? It looks like something that you would see in, um, well, Close Encounters. You know, that mothership was flipping huge. And it was it was presented as a disc, right? A saucer. And but it had all of the beautiful parts hanging down. And we saw two of these in the files that were equally beautiful. And it would just be so nice, I think, if we could have the, oh, hi. It would be so nice if we could have an understanding that maybe these are from different places, that they're not all, you know, do we know where they came from? Did we track them here? Do we know why one of these looks like a cathedral and one of them looks like a beautiful geometric pattern that you would color in a Zen note crayon coloring book, right? I mean, they're so pretty. And I would go on it. Hey, Jeremy York. It's just one of those things that, man, is so cool. And let's go back to where I have lost my assets. There we go. Carl has been working so hard. And so I was trying to make this easy for him. And I don't know if it's going to be all that easy for him. I'm going to go and play some of these from the past videos. And because really and truly, I find these so beautiful. We do have some more documents and we do have a video with them too. But I personally just absolutely love this video. Let me get back to it. Uh-oh. I just lost it, Carl. Let me try again. You'll see why Carl produces me. He protects me from myself. So, and thank goodness he does. It's a good thing to have friends. Okay, we're going to come down here. Now, when they're talking, look at that. Look at that. That's what they put in a UAP file. This was in the first tranche, I think. But look at that. Could you imagine flying in that? I can. I think it would be so cool. And so they do have a sense of the aesthetic, which, how do they do that? How does it not break? They could look like a cathedral. They could look like a spider. You have to go, with what makes you feel good. But I think that that is one of the most beautiful things, and I'd love to see inside of it because whoever designed that has a sense of the aesthetic. It's not just one of those balls of light that are flying around and giving our pilots a run for their money. And I really think that if I were a military pilot, I would be so frustrated because they want to get close. And how can you do that? Who knows what warp they can go? But I just wanted to share that again because I love that. So I have, there we go. glasses. Now, I'm going to pull this up. Oh, that wasn't it. It's still good. This is when they're talking about interpreting the movies, okay? A progress report. And the figures differ from those given in reference C and were computed from measurements obtained under more controlled conditions. Acceleration was determined from that formula. And the maximum acceleration, 21,168 miles per hour. 21,000 miles per hour. Seriously. And then we've got the maximum deceleration of 32,448 miles per hour. Seriously. It is crazy. And then the velocity and acceleration determinations are also made from a Montana file we've heard them talking about. In this case, terrestrial objects appeared in the film and were held to be controlled. Subsequently, the velocity and acceleration determinations are considered to be more reliable. On the assumption of B and C above, the maximum and minimum velocities of the left object are 13/4 and 361 miles per hour, respectively. For the right object, they are 11,117 and 189. And the accelerations were computed as maximum acceleration of the left object, 14,016. Right object, 12,640. I mean, we can't even fathom this, right? The determinations were made from a total of 322 measurements. It's noted that the acceleration and determinations were in multiples of 12.5 approximately. This may be of significance, although no study has been conducted to determine this. Velocity and acceleration were treated in subparagraph 6 above. The paragraph 2A indicates the controls used during this investigation. So, I mean, that is so big. That is, well, now I've lost my mouse. There we go. But that is so big because we can't do that. We've been flying for, 100 years, 200 years? We are nowhere close, not even a little bit close. And not true. We can get off our planet. Okay. We can safely lift off with enough engines and rocket fuel under our butts to get to the moon, or to get something into orbit, or to get something without a human in it heading out of our solar system. But we can't do anything. And, it's just crazy. And let's see. Melinda says that in her humble opinion, the U.S. government has always released information that serves them the most. Yes, we all know the truth, but the government is determined to control the population. But they're losing it on this topic, Melinda. I think they are. And in that report, she says that she does believe that they're attempting to, to separate and examine each sighting and compare them to each other. They are, but 21,000 miles per hour is Mach 30. Yes. Those are the speeds that meteors experience as they burn up in our atmosphere. That's not SpaceX, she says. And it's not. I'm so glad that you know these things. So, it really is some of the most cool stuff that we're learning. And however they're doing it, we know now that it can be done, right? I think that is probably the best thing that we're getting out of this interaction with these craft is that, we have been We have been plodding along, getting here, getting here, getting here, but it's taken so long. And I've often wondered if that was because the government was afraid to tell us that, this is what we're trying to achieve. We're going to go off planet. We're going to get, I mean, there's a reason that some of our craft are, Voyagers. They're explored, and we can't go with that, which I think is tragic because we cannot maintain life to be able to get back. And we really need to be able to find a way to do that, in my personal private opinion, because now I'm too old to be one of the volunteers for it. And in my younger days, I would have done that in a heartbeat. So I hope that we get to the point that we're going to be able to have more knowledge, more sustainability for us as we progress. I mean, we're not really making that much progress on this. What is your question, Melinda? And I don't mind a different train of thought. I'm always about, we'll go where the conversation takes us. Or as Sheldon says, go where the music takes me, kitten. So we're good with that. But I am just so, I can't believe that they're actually telling us this stuff. And I haven't heard anybody else talking about these speeds. I don't know why, because this proves it's doable. Now we just have to find out what process they're using to make it work. And you can't tell me. I know there have been craft crashes. There have been UFO crashes. And I know there have been retrievals. So surely they're working on those. That's what I think. So I just love this stuff. I'm such a nerd. I get this excited about ghost hunting too. Just if you're ever at an event where I'm participating, I get thrilled. I love to come across things. So it's a good time. I'm trying to see. Mm-mm. I do not. And for those of y'all that missed it, I'm using a different computer tonight. So it's a little crazy. I'm trying. I'm pretty sure this is one we've already seen. Oh, no. Did you see that? Let's do it again. That's from 2023. That's a fairly new video. And zip zoom. I would love to be on something doing that. I love roller coasters too. But I don't know. It's just the coolest. The craft that the two that we saw, and I do not have that other big pretty one in here, and I hate that. But they're just so flipping fast. So let's come back up here to the documents. See what this is. I have to make it big, guys. Oh, okay. Glasses. Okay. This is J12. But interpretation of movies of unidentified objects progress report in. I don't, no, this is not. So this is analysis of the graph correlating luminosity and size indicate that as the luminosity of the objects increase, the size is larger also. This could be the effect of viewing directly a reflecting surface. This is considered not probable because of the length of time they were viewed continuously on the film, approximately 96 seconds, and because of the angle through which they were photographed, approximately 60 degrees. It is felt that if these images are reflective surfaces, blinking would occur during a period of 90 seconds while passing through an angle of 60 degrees when photographed at the rate of 16 frames per second. This premise would permit highly reflective balloons or asteroids to be a possibility. However, the velocity and acceleration computations of paragraph 8 rule this possibility out. It appears, therefore, that if these objects are of a reflecting surface, they are of a design, speed, and power not commonly known. The velocity and acceleration attributed to the objects may be caused by light reflected off a highly reflective surface onto an atmospheric screen, where a slight angular turn of the reflective surface would appear as high acceleration. This possibility is considered not probable because of the sun angle, an atmospheric condition reported at the time of photography, and because of the variations in luminosity which, under the above conditions, would remain constant. It is the majority opinion of the group conducting this analysis that these images are light sources. This will explain the non-blinking factors. In either case, light source or reflective surface, it appears as if the objects are of a nature which we are not able to identify in terms of natural phenomena or commonly known man-made objects. There is no indication of what kind of objects could have caused the images except that they must be of a construction, design, and material not commonly known. This is indicated by the computed acceleration rate and velocity. That should be velocity. Answer 8. For the same reasons, birds, aircraft, and balloons are ruled out. An analysis of the charts relative to movements indicate that there were group and individual movement. Within a group, it appears as if the individual objects are moving counterclockwise along the line of sight. They will appear to fuse into one. As they continued along their paths, it will appear as if one object became two. This occurred at regular intervals at approximately every 25th frame, as plotted in charts 5A and 5B. So there is that. And now I have my screen stuck. Carl, I'm trapped. Now oh, that helps. I was on the wrong part. Like I said, different computer. I'm learning. So, hello. There's no way. This is not us, they're saying, even if we could fly that fast. And these are, what is it? I did not pay attention to that date. But, it's really, it's blowing me away because we do not have that capability, as they said themselves. And how are they going to tell us that that's not something superior to us in knowledge and experience and power? That's been one of the big things, right? They don't want to terrify the public. They don't want to, I've always said that War of the Worlds, the radio show, was a trial run. We failed. I think that they wanted to come and talk to us. They wanted to let us know that there's something. We don't know what, but, we don't know what's going to be interacting if we're reaching out to them. And people started jumping out of windows and, losing their minds. And it was just, it was horrible. And I think that is the reason that they don't talk to us, that our powers that be have lied to us for so long. And it's bald faced freaking lying. We know that. And we're over that. So, this is Melinda, you're so funny. She says, what if my fave sequel, UFOs coming into our solar system, are part of our next life agenda? What if they're here to manage us? You really want to be managed? I don't. What if they're coming around to check on how we as a species are faring? And she says, that pairs with the whole question of what happens after our human life here is done. Can this all be part of a reality that is dictated to our dedicated to our physical bodies and minds here on Earth? I do not rule that out. I don't. I think that there's. I don't think that it's us in a near future. I don't know how they're managing this, but I think that there's the possibility that they are coming to see how we're faring, because, oh my, not real well, honestly, as a species. You know, we are so war minded and so quick to judge and so ugly to each other. We have so much murder and chaos and crime, and you know, it's I think that the last 8 years have seen a real degradation of human behavior, and maybe longer than that, but definitely the last I feel like the last administration, where there were no checks and balances put anywhere, was a real problem with the people that we were letting in. And I saw a lot of the same behaviors when I traveled overseas. So there's that. You know, it's really something, because my grandma used to laugh and joke and say that, you know, the aliens lock their doors when they fly by Earth, because we're such a warmonger world. And yeah, we are predators preying on each other, but we're allowing the predators to prey on us. Yeah, there's no stopping. There's very little punishment for being that person. So 10 years really began the decline. Yeah. I don't think it's been a whole 10. I think that, you know, when we started seeing no controls, you know, you have to have controls in order to be able to monitor behaviors and to correct negative behaviors. And all of not necessarily European nations and such, I don't think, but I know that our methods of immigrating here were just thrown in the barrel. And we didn't know who was coming here. We still don't know who came, because it's very easy once you get here to just kind of disappear and go on and do whatever agenda you came in with and live your best life and, you know, plot and plan and do whatever. But it's really, it's you had desperate people coming here, that desperate people coming here. And then you had all those children that have disappeared. And if you're going to do that to the most vulnerable and the weakest and not give a rat's ass, then you should be held accountable for every one of those people that you put in that position. And nobody has faced any accountability. Nobody's found any of those children. Nothing seems to be being done about that. And I think that what happened to all of those missing children is what we as a species are going to be judged by. Because you cannot do that to the most vulnerable of you because you lost a generation. There's enough children missing that their little villages and countries that they came from lost a generation. And I hope that we get back to thinking that our nation's laws and rules and regulations matter again. And that the repercussions for not doing them, not following them, are implemented. Because you can't have, I mean, it's been like the Wild West. It still is in major cities. It's so dangerous. And but the children are my sticking point. You can do what you want to grown-ups because we stand a chance. You can't do that to children. So that's a terrible topic. I'm sorry. But I just think that, when I was in Scotland, there were riots when we were coming back into Edinburgh from Roslyn. We took a Uber because it's only like 20 minutes, 12 miles, well, with traffic and stuff. But, it was just, we got caught up in a Palestinian protest. And it was really rocking. It was tough. In fact, hey Joe, our hotel had to evacuate. We got back, put our luggage in, went over to the mall to stock up on our chocolate. And then when we came back, we had a dinner reservation that night. So we were going back to the hotel to get cleaned up and rest a little bit. And our hotel had been evacuated. all of our staff, everybody that worked there, everybody staying there, were all out milling around in the road. And we were right across from Waverly Station. So Waverly was, being protected too. And it's a bomb threat. And there was a suspicious package found because there's a Barclays Bank in that building and a UPS, I think. And there have been a lot of anti-Barclay flyers everywhere and stuff. So, probably Barclay was the target of that. But so that was my last day in Scotland. It was really interesting. But we did have a lovely dinner. So we all got to meet and get to know each other as we were waiting outside to see if our building was going to blow up. It was loads of fun. But I had my chocolate with me. It was not getting blown up. So if you haven't been to Hotel Chocolate in Edinburgh, I think they have one now in St. Andrews too. If you go to Scotland, find Hotel Chocolate. And let me know that you did, and I will pay you back if you bring me back some of their raspberry or orange chocolate macaroons. They're little discs of chocolate with cream in them, like little macaroon cookies. Oh my God. So anyway, they come here and they still end up missing. Yep. And sex trafficking is a big thing everywhere, and it has been for a long time. But when you have unaccompanied children that nobody's paying attention to, and you just let them go with anybody, that's terrible. Terrible. I'd like to go and find every one of them and bring them home with me and love on them. But anyway, let's see what else we got. I don't do politics on my shows. And here we are talking about politics. It's not really politics, it's children. Well, that's an FBI file. What are you? Okay. I told you I don't do renderings. I'm going to not show this right now. I'll show it to you before we go. Now, I thought this was interesting. and they were trying to plot where the different craft were. And this is kind of like almost like flight patterns, I guess. And I just thought, oh, all of my little things that are open, Edgar Casey, yep, love him. But this is just kind of um, says film analysis of unidentified flying objects, 1953 PDF. And these lines, a lot of those are flight patterns, where they've been. And this one was very well concealed. They did a good job with that. There were several like this, and I was looking at them trying to ascertain a little better, right, what they were doing. And everything that I found looked like patterns. And it was, to me, this was kind of trippy dippy. It was definitely not something that I anticipated seeing. I thought that was kind of a lot of information to put out, because if you don't know that they're flying all over the place, you do now, right? And they just go wherever they want because we can't touch them. I'm just glad that they haven't decided to, fire on us or anything, because I don't think that would go well. I love this one. So these are how their shapes kind of fill out. Okay. And I didn't get my thing at the top. But I just think, compared to us, these are so big, right? To our craft. And I can't even imagine how many people fit on these craft. How many people are flying on those? How many people are in each one that we see? Just us, not counting who all the military is flying up there and seeing, the people that are, when we have the comets going through, I'm sure there's other people watching them too. I mean, genuinely, these have to be just so massive. The one that I saw that was low didn't seem that big. I mean, it did not look like a big one. But of course, it was pretty much eye level with me too. But I just find this so interesting because I don't know. I just do. I think that everything about this topic is so timely and so important. And yeah, I am anti politics too. And I'm anti politics because politicians do dumb crap, like let children go, like all this stuff. Politicians should not, politicians should have other responsibilities than taking care of us. Do something, do the book work. Just do the book work. Don't do anything else. You just take care of the details in the filing system, and we will let your assistants figure everything out, because I'm sure they know more than they do. So, I do not do political shows, Melinda. I don't care for it. I was a political science major in college, and because I found it fascinating, and it was something that I learned is not fascinating. I like to observe, but I don't follow one side or another. I learn from everybody, and I build my opinions based on that. And I think that I think that's what everybody should do, because if you can't open up your mind enough to have a conversation, then you shouldn't be trying to force an opinion on someone. You need to be able to converse. It's a really great art, a really great tool. And if you can't talk to people, you can't come to a reasonable understanding either. You have to be able to communicate. It's all about communication and not in your face. You're the bad guy, you're the demon monster, you're the, whatever. Just have to talk. Talking is where you get solutions. So I'm a big pro communication person. I am a completely don't like politicians person. And I know some, and they're nice people when they're not doing their, paid for job. So yeah, I mean, you're right. Those families came here and they still wound up missing because they didn't. They just let them go. I can't talk about that because I'll try. So, um, I think that our Navy pilots. I love the Blue Angels. I'm sorry. I'm a big Navy pilot fan, and but I like the Army too. So it doesn't matter. I have so much admiration for everybody who serves our country. Politicians too, because but we need term limits. You go, you serve a term. If you're doing a good job, you get to go back once, and then you go home and run your farm or your business, your car lot, whatever, and you know go out and do a lecture circuit, do something, but don't go back to Washington. And you can't go back as a lobbyist either. That's the way that should go. Don't you think? you know, Go and live your life where you can't do any harm. No harm is a good thing. So, yeah, divide and conquer. It is a strategy, and it's not. That would be the politicians at war with us. Divide and conquer. It's working really well, isn't it? So, I think that if nothing else, I do not know what the deciding factor was in these files being released. But oh my gosh, I'm so glad these files have been released because it's just the very best thing that could happen, I think, because we need to remember as a civilization, not a nationality, not a faith, not a hometown hero, whatever, but as a civilization, we need to remember that we're not the only game in town, right? There are people coming here from somewhere, and these craft are behaving intelligently. They're being flown by competent people. If you can go that fast, I'm probably not riding with you, but I sure would like to drive. But, there's so much that is so cool about what we're seeing. And, I just think that we're getting to see this. We're getting to see the speed and the velocity and, the maneuverability. Oh my gosh, the maneuverability is off the chain. When I was watching some of the videos online, and if you haven't yet, it is DOW.gov slash, no, yeah, DOW.gov slash UFO. And you can go and look at these. You can read these files till the cows come home. It is some of the most fun that you can do on a rainy afternoon or an early morning or whenever you get a chance to sit down with them. I have a lot of them downloaded on my iPad, some of the documents to go back and read just because it's so much fun learning. I I have been fascinated in this since God was a child. It is just the best, the best ever. And we get to look at it, right? I just think it's the coolest. But and I will say that I was really surprised that we get to, because some of this stuff, like the speeds, right? When you're looking at these speeds, these are obviously people that have a lot more aerodynamic knowledge than we do. And they can keep their pilots protected, right? They're not being torn to shreds in those craft. They're flying those craft. We don't know how to do that. And that's where this communication, we have to be able to communicate, because at some point, if it's not already happening, that's going to be a thing. And if we're still acting like just warmongering nations, like we don't care about our weakest, like we don't care about little old people and children, and, we only want to beat everybody, you know, um, we're in trouble. This is a situation where there's not going to be, I think, a lot of chances to get this right. Just saying. These people have been observing us for centuries. And if it's not them, then it's their historical figures. I mean, I don't know the life expectancy, but they have been coming here since we've started keeping records as people on this planet. And it's like Ezekiel left the earth in a fiery chariot, spinning fiery chariot. So that's biblical. That's been a while. And if they have been coming here and choosing not to interact with us, then they must not think that we're worthy. And that should be alarming too. I don't think we should be terrified. I think that when the time is right and they have enough confidence in us, then, we'll get interaction beyond being taken as like, lab experiments. We don't want to be lab experiments. We want to be able to have a social relationship with these people that are coming here. Even if they're us from the future, they're still not approaching us. And if they're us from the future, they've probably done their history homework and know what we were like before they came. I think that there's really a chance, and I hope that we get that opportunity to interact and to learn more and to see who's flying these craft and to talk to them and to learn from them. And I would like for them to think that we were worthy of that, because the alternative is really not groovy. We we need to be able to understand we're already not the sharpest tack in the shed. We're not, by virtue of the science, their science versus our science. We're not there yet. If they're us from the future, I think they would be interacting with us by now, unless there's some prime directive that says don't do that. But somewhere, somehow, we're going to be in a communication environment, and I just hope we don't shoot them down or try to. So perhaps checking to see if we're learning the lessons here or not. Yeah, I'm a little scared of that one too. That's 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 funny. Nuts and bolts UFO fascination. Mine too. I love it. I think it's the coolest thing. But I really hope. I'd like to go for a ride. Wouldn't you like to go for a ride if they have a gravitational control so that you don't get ripped to pieces like or give you a suit. Don't just take you up there and watch the show. But I think that it's neat. Let's see what else we have over here. We're running low. Whoops. Assets. Where are they? There they. Glasses. These are not my favorite glasses. Oh. Okay. I am going to show y'all a rendering before we go. I said I wasn't going to do this. Well, because I want the real thing. You know, it is what it is. Let's see. I don't have that other pretty one up here anymore. Drat. That second craft that was just, oh my gosh, so gorgeous. Now I'm going to show you this. And I know 3 people who have seen this, who have experienced this. One of them had a very up close and personal experience with one. And his mind wipe worked. His friends did not. His friend ultimately was very unhealthy as a result of his experience. But I don't know why, because I know that they have the video of this. But y'all seen this on television, so it's not a big deal to y'all, but I like it. This is that digital rendering of the triangle. And what I'm not seeing on it is the lights. They have a light on each corner. And actually they have 2 lights on each corner. But this is what my friend Chase saw when she was in a yard doing a field investigation for MUFON. That's what was coming over them. Another friend of mine had an abduction experience with one of these and had implants. And the implants matched a pattern of another friend of mine that lives in a different part of the country. They both had the same pattern right above their knee. And the first one was a runner, so his were affecting his running. He went to the doctor. That's how he found out he had them. The other person had no idea that they had them. And I do know that the people that have seen this had such a sense of dread. And I think probably it's because they are freaking massive and they're silent. You explain to me how that's silent, okay? But they are. But they have lights. So I don't get that. I just don't get that. I think that's kind of wicked and cool and a little freaky. So I think that if I were to see one of these, you can't run. Where are you going to go? Right? They're freaking huge. But I don't think that these are like Death Stars. I think these are probably the scientific side of the equation and the researchers of the equation, just based on the places that I know that they've been and the outcome of people's experiences that I've heard and learned about. So I don't think they're scary, but they just look ominous, right? They're coming at you. They're dark. They're silent. They're huge. And when they get over you, you know exactly how small you are, is what I've been told. So, there's no, can't get away from it because it's huge. It's kind of like when a cat catches a mouse, like, but doesn't grab it, or when a hawk is flying over and everything goes to ground. And I think, Melinda, that that's exactly true. She says that she thinks she would say it would change your life forever if you were to see one. Well, I don't know if it would change your life more than seeing any of them, but it would be very much more intimidating because I've seen craft, but hi, they haven't been over the top of me. I couldn't make out a definitive shape. I just saw them moving. And, well, that's not true. I have seen one, but it didn't look like that. But it was, it's just such a bizarre thing, totally bizarre thing. And I don't know. I didn't like the one that I saw simply because it was level with my gazebo, because I have a retaining wall behind my gazebo. And so it just came in and it just cruised on. And it was in a cloud when it got to, started. And then it came out of a cloud and then the cloud caught up with it and it went on. So I wasn't intimidated at first until it came, the little lippy part came out of the cloud, and where there should have been a window wasn't one. But I felt totally like I was being watched. And I was on the phone with someone. I was like, do not hang up. Do not hang up. I do not want a missing time incident. I need you to stay there the whole time. Just be there. But it was intimidating because I knew it wasn't somebody I knew, and they were in my backyard watching me. Well, my neighbor's backyard, just cruising through. I don't know if I'm pretty sure they knew I was there. I was sitting on a deck. But, it was very intimidating in my head because I couldn't see who was in there, but they could see me. And then they just, the cloud caught back up with them and it went away. So there's that. But I think this is, I think it's beautiful. I love the fact that it's symmetrical. But this actually, the pilot said that this is what they saw, but this is a rendering of it. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see that video. I wanted to see it coming over them and how they reacted as it went away, because I know what badasses our jet fighters are. So there's that. So, I know we've got about 12 minutes left, and I'm not going to talk anything else even vaguely resembling politics because not my color Kool-Aid. But, I am going to say, if you're familiar with a situation where there are children that need help, please call someone. It doesn't matter what language they speak. They'll find an interpreter for them. But if you know of any children that need help, please help them, because they don't have choices and things that their grown-ups put them into. And maybe they have a grandma somewhere that would like to help them, take care of them. Just saying that. But if you liked tonight's show and you want to see more of these files, I intend to do this every time there's a new release. And I'm also going to go back through, and I'm going to go back to some of the first ones because I think that I might have missed some stuff. And I know what I'm looking for now, so I think I'll be much better at it. But I'm going to be doing some more of this information because, when they finally decide that they want to come clean with us, then we need to be educated. We need to know what they're going to be coming clean to us about. And I am just so blown away And I don't know if these are going to continue going forward after Trump leaves office, because they've been so hidden up until now, right? So perhaps they'll be put back under secure. No, you don't have a right to see this. Well, we paid for this. Our taxes paid for all of this, the planes that went to go fly with them, and the cameras that they were using, and everything else. We do have a right to see this stuff. And so I'm going to continue to bring this stuff forward. And if you have something that you want to bring forward and share, then just reach out to me. You know, I'm on Facebook. I am on YouTube. I am on my Twitter too, pretty sure. And, you know, just find me. And if you have an experience that you want to share, I'm all about it. I'll get you on here and we'll talk about it. I mean, I want to know. I have so many friends who have had interactions, abductions. Um, if you're uncomfortable with an abduction, I'm not going to push you on that. I'm not that person, you know. But if you need somebody to listen to you, I will listen to you. But I think that I just love this topic so much. This is it's our tax dollars. We own this footage and they've been hiding it from us. We paid for this. I hate that. So we'll continue it. And it's just fun. I just think that I think it's a good thing for us to actually be able to say, hey, did you see that? Did you see that? Well, this is right here. Let me go pull that up and I'll show it to you. I'll send it to you. We'll talk about it. You know, we can do that. We have all this information just floating around out there, and we can do that. So we're going to do that. But, you know, if you are interested in having a conversation about ghost hunting, if you want to talk about different locations, if you have any in particular that you love, then we can talk about those too. And, you know, just reach out to me. My email is paranormalexperienced@gmail. So send me a message and, you know, we'll have a conversation, or, you know, schedule a show or schedule a research topic and just have fun. I'm ready to get back out in the field a little bit, and we will see what we find out. But mainly, I'm loving this. So thank you so much for being here. I think I might be a little early. I can't see my time. Well, maybe 7 minutes, but I definitely have 7 minutes in me. Carl's used to that. But I'm just really glad you're here, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate all the support on this too, because a lot of people are like, why are you even talking about that? So why are you not? How can you not be talking about this? It's so cool. And I get so excited about it. So it's a good thing. Carl, do you have anything that you want to add to the UFO UAP part? Oh, he says no. He is not. Carl is definitely a paranormal investigator and a jam up one too. So, and he's probably tired because he also is in mid-season with his food truck. And I'm sure that he has been cooking and cooking and cooking. And I tell you what, his food truck is amazing. And it's veteran owned and operated. And he makes smash burgers, and he makes, oh, what is the name of that other sandwich? Tenderloins. Tenderloin is his specialty. And they get at all these places that don't have restaurants or don't have a lot, and there's events held there, and so they'll go and set up for the events, and cook everybody good meals and have a good time. So there he is.
Can you hear me now, Kat?
I can't hear you.
Okay, well, I'll tell the folks anyway. This last weekend, the dinner bus was up in Unionville, Missouri, where the tornado hit. We were serving people, helping them out for 3 days up there. So Kat will hear this on the replay. So thank everybody for listening.
And thank you, Carl. So I I don't know why I could not hear any of that, and I've got my earbud in, and it's supposed to be working. So there we go. But I got to tell you, he's one of the best people on the planet. He's a good person, and he's my friend. So I hope that y'all had a good time. I will see y'all next week. I'll see you Wednesday night, actually. Paranormal Experience with Kat Hobson. We're going to be talking about some locations. And be blessed. I hope that you absolutely have a great week. And just take care of you. You know, we take care of everybody else. It's okay to take care of yourself some too. Be blessed and have a great night. Good night.